Hey guys, and welcome back to Victoria's Cantina, where today we're talking about the FigureShield clamshell cases for Star Wars The Vintage Collection figures. These will also fit a few other Hasbro Star Wars figure lines like the Legacy Collection, but for our purposes, we're going to be testing it out in the Star Wars Retro and Star Wars Vintage Collection action figures. A special thank you to FigureShield for sending out a few review samples for us to showcase for you. Back in 2017, I did a review of the 6-inch Star Wars The Black Series vintage style clamshells that FigureShield put out, and they're holding up very well. They are still on my wall, working just as well as they did at the time. This time we basically have the same thing, but it is for 3 3/4 inch vintage collection and other Star Wars line action figures. So you're going to have the same sort of construction here where, you have like this plastic sort of material. It's a little bit flexible. It's actually made up of 2 pieces. So you have the bottom piece right here, and it already has the little piece right here that you need to pull out. So it's like with a lot of our vintage figures, we try and buy unpunched. These are unpunched, so brand spanking new. And as you can see, it does say FigureShield on the very back if you flip it around. And this is the inside. This is the side where you're going to place your figure. So you might notice when you pull it out that there's a little bit of film or oil on it. This is completely normal. It is from the manufacturing process. It's not going to harm your figures. But if you're like me, you might want to wipe it down just because I'm very particular about my things. But if you didn't, it shouldn't cause any harm whatsoever to your figures. So the same thing with the front. You can kind of just wipe it down a little bit if you wanted to do that. Just get a few of the smudges off. When you handle them, they actually seem pretty resistant to fingerprints, which is really awesome. But, just if you wanted it to look spotless, of course, you might want to wipe it down just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. So, again, both of these are pretty flexible. Once you snap them together, they're very durable. We're going to pull this out. And, this is basically the front. You will notice a little bit of what looks like a very slight haze. This is actually the protection against UV rays so that your figures are safe and do not become damaged by ultraviolet. So that's pretty ingenious. Not too many companies are doing this with their clamshells. So you will notice a little bit of haziness when you get your figures in there, but it is a little bit of a trade-off. I will accept that if it means completely protecting my figures. So let's go ahead and grab one of our figures here. This is the Retro Collection Luke Skywalker. These are very tiny. You can see it's a very low profile bubble. It's only about 1 inch thick in total, I would say. And it's a gorgeous card back, the kind of thing you would absolutely want to protect in a clamshell case. So essentially all you're going to do is lay the case down right here on the back side. And what you want to do is try and line it up as best you can with the sides of the plastic case. So you're going to notice that there is a very slight gap all the way around the card. So if we line it up, you'll see a little bit of the plastic lip on either side. Same with the bottom, same with the top. Just line it up until you get it as perfectly in the center as you can. Then you're going to grab the top case and you're simply going to press it over. Oops. Bumped it just a little bit. You might have to do it a couple of times before you get it perfect. But you want to make sure you're trying to line it up as best you can. So once you do have it over where you want it, then you're just going to press down. Just like that. And the top parts, you can actually push those in as well. And you will see that our figure now is nicely encased in this clamshell case. So it is protected. Nothing's going to happen to it as long as it's in there. And I'm going to sleep a lot better at night because that's the type of collector that I am. So this is great. And you can see that I have it lined up very well along the top and here on the bottom. A little bit of a gap right here between the side and the bottom. Same thing right here. Now, you might have to do it a couple of times, like I mentioned, by pulling the clamshell apart and repeating the process just until you get it lined up as you want. It's in there either way, so I'm not worried about it too much. But if you wanted to try and get it in there just a little bit more straight, you're a little bit more OCD like I am, then you might want to repeat the process a couple of times. But yeah, this looks great, and I'll show you in just a bit. These look awesome on the wall. All right, so now we're taking our Vintage Collection Gamorrean Guard. This is a much thicker, chunkier figure. You can see it sticks out a lot more than the retro Luke Skywalker does. So same thing, we're going to go ahead and line it up as best we can here with the plastic backing. And then once we have it, we're going to take the top part, carefully lay it over, and then snap in place. And once again, we got a very nice fit all the way around the figure. And you can see this is completely sufficient for containing such a thick figure like the Gamorrean guard. There's even still a little bit of a gap at the top, so it's not even touching the front of the clamshell. So these are very versatile. They will work with a multitude of different figures, not just your Star Wars The Vintage Collection or Star Wars figures. As long as your figures are relatively within these dimensions or smaller, then they should fit quite well. But as you can see, it's a beautiful fit. And let me show you what these guys look like when hung on the wall in these FigureShield cases. Alright, so as you guys can see, I have my Star Wars The Retro Collection figures, and I also have Star Wars The Vintage Collection figures here along my wall. There's the sail barge there in the middle. And these are awesome. I think that Star Wars action figures in vintage packaging are essentially like little art pieces. And if you're like me, you might want to hold on to a few of them on the card, just for display purposes if nothing else, but also because I just don't think you can beat that classic Star Wars aesthetic on vintage style packaging. It's just timeless, it's classic. And as you can see, they display very well, and these FigureShield cases are definitely going to offer protection for your figures, and they just look great in those cases. It's a very polished aesthetic, and it definitely makes you look like a serious collector. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. These are the FigureShield protective clamshell cases for Star Wars, the Vintage Collection, and Retro Collection action figures. You'll also notice that there's a little bit of a lip there at the top. That's so that you can place your Legacy Collection figures in there too. Overall, you guys, I am truly happy with the way that these turn out. I think my figures fit in these awesome. I think they look awesome hanging on the wall. And I'm definitely going to be going back and ordering some more. Definitely going to be doing that so that I can get all my figures protected in these beautiful FigureShield clamshell cases. Now, if you want to take advantage of a special deal, we're teaming up with FigureShield to offer you 15% off by using promo code VC15 at checkout. There's a link in the description to FigureShield's website. Head on over there, check out their clamshell cases for these vintage collection figures, as well as their 6-inch Black Series 40th anniversary figures. They also got cases for your standard Black Series figures. Lots of great stuff, and you really can't go wrong, especially when you're saving 15% by protecting your investment, which is these beautiful carded Star Wars figures. Alright, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Thanks again to FigureShield for providing some of these review samples for us to look at. I think they're doing great work. I can't wait to see what they do in the future with protecting carded action figures. Head on over there, take advantage of the 15% off. As always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.